Welcome to Healing Wisdom, a Thursday morning talk show featuring guests sharing their stories and knowledge. We discuss the healing aspects of the arts, metaphysics, social justice, and adventure through all types of terrain. So join me, Pandora Peoples, here on WOMR 92.1 FM in Provincetown and WFMR 91.3 FM in Orleans. We're streaming worldwide at WOMR.org.
Farakato mate kuto kuto elewa sombinawa elewa kuto kundemawa mawa mawa elewa kuto kundemawa elewa sombinawa elewa kuto kundemawa elewa sombinawa elewa kuto kundemawa farakato mate kuto kuto.
The music of Afro-Cuban ensemble Okan celebrates their Afro-Latin heritage and the Cuban culture they grew up in. Their new album, Okantomi, melds Afro-Cuban forms including Lucumí chants and rhythms with Cuban jazz. Lucumí is the Cuban form of the Yoruba religion which celebrates orishas. Orishas are seen as saints or deities. It is related to the Brazilian candomblé. Elizabeth and Magdelys, what was growing up in Cuba like? Were you immersed in Lucumí music and ceremonies?
Yes, in my case specifically, I come from a family that has a long lineage of santeros, or religion. It's called Santeria or Lucumí Regla de Ocha. It has different names or variations. And the reason why we named this album Okantomi is because that is my religion's name. And once I got initiated, that's the name that I received, and it means Oshun's heart. Oshun is the goddess of the river and fertility and motherhood and all of that. At the time that we were doing the album, we were going through personal stuff like a miscarriage and trying to have a child. It was during the pandemic and all of that. We luckily had the child eventually, but in honor and being grateful to Oshun and to our saints and all of our gods, we are honoring them even more deeply in this album. Growing up in Cuba, there is music everywhere, all the time. Like, even if your family might not be religious like mine, or in the case of Magdelys, that her family was more into the spiritual world, spiritism and energy, healing energies and all of that. She comes from variation. I come more from like the side of the Santeria and the drums and tambores and all of that sound, and it was in the background. And music is there. And of course, it's part of us. It runs in our veins, and we had to express, and why we're expressing it in so many different ways. Because on top of that, we went to music school to be classically trained. So they basically stripped out all of this folkloric side of us and put all the European music in us. And now, as adults, we're healing and we're trying to put those things together. And that's what you have in the album.
Yalote, ilate koyo, ebuyo chare, yalote momolo yumo morima kadara, yalote los igua titileko aboro la yumu elekete ni fajo, amamala osi su muñaque buyo lote milodo re ire, ekifala fala la osio, ekifala fala sireo dorore falate koyo, milabona de culache, milabona la kere bio chun, ore yeyeo.
Elizabeth Rodriguez and Magdelys Savigne were trained in classical music. With this album, they fully reclaimed their folkloric traditions. They worked with a lot of important Cuban musicians on this album.
We have, so many guests on this album. We have the core band, which is Roberto Riveron on bass, a fantastic bassist from Cuba, from Okan. We have Jeremy Ledbetter. He is a great pianist from Canada, Toronto. And
Also work as a producer.
He also worked as a producer, along with us. So he co-produced the album. We have Frank Martinez is a great drummer, very young, but very talented. And they were the core band for the band. We also have as guests, we have Elmer Ferrer. He's an amazing guitarist from Cuba as well. We got Martelena, singer, Daimero Sena. We had Lara St. John on violin. I mean, yeah. Well,
all our friends.
And Fong. I mean, a bunch of talented women and men who wanted to be part of this journey, like our latest album, and it was amazing.
Mostly women.
Mostly women, yeah, mostly women. But also it got mixed by John Biddle Bailey, which, I mean, he brought another side of us. Like, we're like, wow, amazing! Like, very talented as well. And what can I tell you? We really, really hope that people like this album the same way we do.
Elizabeth has always felt connected with water and nature through Santeria. The song she wrote for her Orisha, the river goddess Oshun, incorporates a chant that has special significance for her.
I think for every culture and every country and for humans, water is the most essential thing, right? We all try to explain nature from the very beginning of our existence. And that is what our religion does, trying to explain nature and respecting nature, because at the end of the day, that's going to be our only solution to heal this planet if we start respecting nature. And that chant, it was always very special to me and resonated with me. And I heard it when I was like very young, when I was like 14, 13 years old. And it always resonated. And then I got initiated when I was 15 years old. And I asked my friend, who is the priest that is actually praying at the beginning of Oshun, Oriki Oshun, the song. So it was kind of like closing a cycle. Once you get initiated, you have to dance in front of the drums, right? In front of the bata drums. And I asked him, because it's like family. I asked him to sing this chant because I really loved it. And he did in my presentation. It's called Presentation. And now, so many years later, I asked him to be at the beginning of the song and the album, having this prayer, saying this prayer for Shun. And it is a chant that when we decided to do an arrangement of it, was because I was feeling really, really, really sad after having a miscarriage. And I was basically pleading Oshun for her forgiveness and help me carry a child and make it a successful pregnancy and have a child and all of that. So it was kind of like honoring Oshun and offering to her in this album and keeping it somewhere where it would last forever. Well, she gave me what I wanted, so it worked. Yes, it is a very special tune for us.
How does a person find their personal connection with an Orisha, or does an Orisha find them?
I think it works everywhere, every way,
both
ways. Some people find it. Some people are open enough to hear the signs, because sometimes you have the signs, but if you're close, if you're upset, if you don't take a time to look around and sit and center and hear the universe talking, because I don't want to impose our religion in anybody. We always say that our religion is very open, and if you believe in Oshun, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in Buddha, whatever it is, still energy, still having faith. So I think as humans, what we should do is having faith and understand that there is a higher power than us, that we cannot be the highest thing in this universe, okay? So as long as we understand that, I think those are the kind of friends I want in my life, people that understand that there is a higher power. So you find healing in many different ways, and you find the gods and the energies that are going to help you in your specific life and circumstance. And you just have to sit quietly and listen and observe.
But it's a calling. It calls you, then you get picked by the Orisha once you are ready. And you will know when you're ready. Things like circumstances, life is taking you to this path, and you just decide. You make the choice. And once you go there, that's it. There is no going back. But like we said, it's very open. You can believe in anything and still be part of our religion. It's about you. It's about how It's about nature. It's about your future, like how to present yourself, how to live with yourself and respect and love yourself more than anything, and being yourself. And the Orisha says, like, I'm here for you no matter what, but this is what you have to do in order to do you. That's it. And put yourself first, and and try to help people, do good deeds, like the same, the usual that every religion usually has, but it's mostly. But humans are the ones that make the choices at the end to be good or bad. So yeah, but every religion should have the same.
Do you feel your son is connected to an Orisha?
I did. We did. I always thought he was Shango. Like Shango was his god. And when we actually did the ceremony, there are two different ways to actually pick a definite, like a definite answer about your Orisha, right? So you can go to the priest, the Babalaos, where they have the divination way of doing that, and the reading, and then they will tell you. And that is for real, and that is a definite answer. But there are other ways that with the, it's called caracoles, actually. I don't know.
Sorry.
You see these shells? Okay, so there is a way of a divination through these shells, as like that too, and those are the obas. So it's like in a rank, Babalao is here, obas are here, but they also have the power to do the divination process, and they also can tell you who is your god and your guide. So we did that for Orun, and I knew it was Shango. So they always ask the mother, like, who do you think? And I was like, I know it's Shango. And because we were talking about it for so long, the priest, the Babalaos, didn't want me to get upset if that wasn't the case. I was like, you just need to know that it could be somebody else, and you just need to be prepared. I was like, I know it's Shango. You don't have to tell me. And it was, in fact, there was no other way that was another saint that it was going to protect him. And I was very happy with it, but it was also nerve-wracking, because I was like, what if at that moment when he said, like, you don't get upset, that's when I was like, oh, what is that if I'm wrong?
But it doesn't matter. It's like, it doesn't really matter who it is. Like, they are here for a reason. They pick you for a reason.
Yeah, and you will be protected for somebody.
No matter what.
Duele verte siempre sufriendo, esperando no morir en el intento de verte libre como el viento. Es mi sueño y no se está cumpliendo. Pasan los años y van quedando las pesadas huellas del desarraigo. Lo que quieren todos los cubanos es la libertad y sentirse humanos. Y no volví por miedo a ver, ya no te vi más, nunca regresé. No tengo el mar ni el cielo azul, mas tengo todo lo que un día soñé. Me duele ver cómo te vas, hundiendo cada vez más en el mar. Sueño con verte florecer y con el día de la libertad.
Di la verdad, aunque en el fondo duela. Allá se vive, sálvese quien pueda. Aunque esté lejos y entre mar y arena, al final es nuestra isla bella. Con un sistema viejo de antaño, los gobernantes no han cambiado en años, no. Solo le pido a la Virgen que todos superemos los desengaños.
Y no volví por miedo a ver,
Ya no te vi más, nunca regresé.
tengo el mar y el cielo azul.
Más tengo todo lo que un día soñé.
Me
song No Volvi addresses Okan's ambivalence about going back home because of the repressive Cuban government.
Cuba has been under a dictatorship for the last 64, it's going to be 65 very soon, years. And our people are suffering. Our people are struggling. Our people have been suffering for all these years, different changes, different things. People, especially whoever speaks up, it can get in serious trouble. People go to jail for just saying that they don't like the government. Or for a song like this, if we were to release a song like this in Cuba, we will go to jail. No? So now we're facing, once the song comes out, we're facing the fact that we might not, for real, might not be able to go back to Cuba at all. And our people need help from the world because, unfortunately, we're so broken. There is no way we can fight. And one day, because for the longest time we were saying like, the Cubans have to stand up and eventually fight, but the last time we were there, we realized that we actually cannot put together a regular demonstration against the government because people don't even have water or food to sustain a protest. Okay, so...
Or they don't know how to do it. They just don't know how to do it.
When you go out and you say, like, I'm going to do this protest here and I'm not going to move, you have supplies in order to do that. Cubans cannot do that. Okay, they will die and they will starve. So every time people ask me why they don't protest, they cannot even do that. And that's why we need help and we need the world to see what it really goes on in Cuba. But when people go to a resort and don't even walk out of the walls of a hotel, they wouldn't find out. And the people that work there they're never allowed to speak the truth. But we are coming with a documentary about it, explaining all of this. Once the song comes out, we still do not have a date for it. But yes, the song is called No Volví, which means I didn't go back. And there's going to be a documentary about it that we decided to go full on.
What is it like being a Canadian-Cuban immigrant?
And then using the freedom of expression that we have now in Canada, because now we call ourselves Cuban Canadians, or like Lara St. John says, Cubanadians. Here, there is a lot of similarities when it comes to the government. Canada is very, very close friends with Cuba, the Cuban government. But the reason of this song was specifically a rant about how Canada has a propaganda in the world that they're very welcoming and everybody can come to Canada and everybody's very nice. When in truth, coming to Canada is very expensive for whoever goes through the actual process of immigration, and it's a very long process. It takes years and it takes a degree. They do not want people that don't have degrees here. So they want educated people. And once they come here, they are not allowed to work in those fields that they were asked to have the documents. And you're like, what? So you want a doctor, you want a doctor, but then you make it really hard for the doctor to become a doctor here, or you want a nurse, but you make it really hard for them to become nurses. So that is a propaganda in the world that Canada has, like, oh, we're very welcoming, come here. Oh, also just you or you or you. So they pick whoever they want. And then you see doctors and teachers and mathematicians and people working in McDonald's. And there is a joke now in Canada. They say, if you have a heart attack, better call a taxi, because the taxi drivers are doctors more than the ambulance. So that says a lot about the system of immigration here. And I'm not even talking about the people. The Canadian people are very nice and welcoming. And it's true that they can help you. And there is the infrastructure for immigrants once they're here to settle and do things, but it is not as easy and it is not as nice. So what we're speaking up here is like, please don't sell yourself as this super nice person because you're not. So using freedom of expression now in Canada.
We still appreciate it we've got here, and
they gave us the money to do the album.
I mean, yeah, and we are very grateful, but now we have a responsibility as Canadians to make a better place. Yes, for immigrants as well, because this country was built on immigration. And why It was so easier-ish before, and now it's harder on immigrants than it used to be. So no, like, yeah, it's our responsibility. And yes, we have to say it. The fact that we are grateful doesn't mean that we have to be silent, because we come from that. No.
Many of their family members are still in Cuba.
She has her mom.
Well, everybody is there. I barely have family outside of Cuba. Well, I mean, now the family that I've created, but everybody else is there. So it's like, it saddens me. Like, all my friends are there. Like this last time, I haven't been in Cuba for 10 years before that. And going back, it was painful. It was painful and sad. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, like, from my eyes, like my perspective. It was hard. And now, like what Elizabeth was saying about the protests and all that, those things get extended to us here, because here we've done many demonstrations, many protests on the streets in Toronto, and we don't know how to do it even here. And we found this.
We have to practice.
We have to practice. We found another, like, we went out like, yay, like, down with the government, the dictatorship, whatever, in Cuba. Don't go to Cuba.
But we weren't
things
organized.
Like that. We weren't organized. We tried, we had numbers, so we had people, but we didn't know how to do it. We found this other protests, like from people from Iran, Palestinians, like Chinese people, like protesting against their government. They had coolers, they had water, they had food, like things like that. We're like, oh, we're so lost. Like, we're even here and we have no idea, because we were brainwashed. We don't have the tools. We don't have the tools. They took our souls from us and did whatever they wanted. And they left these empty shells who only do music. Well, I'm glad we do music. At least, like, we channel it through music. That's why we love music and dance in Cuba. There's nothing else. They cannot take that away from you. And they tried, trust me. They tried to take our religion. They tried to take our music. They tried to take our, like, everything we are. And I'm so glad that now people are speaking up, like Cubans are speaking up.
And people outside are asking direct questions about it. Because for the first time, like, we never get these questions directly. We used to have to say, oh, I am in Cuba, there's a dictatorship. Like, a lot of people still don't want to talk about it.
No,
doesn't matter where they are.
People's crazy, like, we're crazy. Like, sure.
Okan, you won the Juno Award for Espiral, a follow-up to your debut album, Sombras. You have a son together. You've just filmed your documentary and it will be coming out next year. What's changed for you with this album, Okantomi?
Growing up as a human being. You just have to grow up.
Still growing.
Still growing. I'm pretty sure whatever comes next, it will be even heavier than this, or I don't know. But taking responsibility of who we are, going deeper into the knowledge of who we are, working on ourselves in a personal matter very seriously, doing therapy and learning things about us, about our families, about our ancestors. That's what took us into this journey of this album, where we're just using every tool around us in order to share that with the world. And we hope, honestly, we keep saying, we're going to keep saying this because it's true. We're so happy with this album. I'm so proud of us, of what we did, that we've never been in this position. Like, before, it's always like this fear, like, oh, I don't know what people might think. We are at this age where we actually don't care what people think. We're happy and very proud deep in our core. And I know that our album will find people that will like it, or would connect with something, but we're not even expecting anything from it. We already did what we had to do. We already said, like, okay, this is good. I'm happy.
This is for you, like a baby to the world. Yeah.
Take it or leave it, but I am happy. And that is a position where we have never been before. We have always been very nervous.
People can order Okan's new album Okantomi on vinyl record. The album will be released on streaming platforms November 8th.
Thank you so much for having us and asking very personal and interesting questions. I love it. I wish every interview was like
Thank you
this.
for listening. Yeah.
You've been listening to Healing Wisdom at Outermost Radio. All of our shows are podcasts at WOMR.org. Also check out healingwisdomradioshow.com and contact me at pandora@WOMR.org.